If your idea isn't live in 60 days, it's not a business, it's a hobby. A friend of mine had an idea and he researched his first product for more than 8 months. Then two copycat beat him to market and outsold him on his own idea. Wait longer than 60 days and you will face fierce competition and you might spend twice as much to reclaim the position you had in the first week. In 2020, I started selling on Amazon. With the mind of an engineer, I had no experience in e-commerce, but I had the heart of an entrepreneur. I watched countless videos from the Private Label Masters group. There were good material in there with Q&A. So it helped me really launch my first product. It was COVID. We were home and I had plenty of time. So I bench watched when my friends were watching Netflix. I was learning business. With that discipline, I launched my first product in just 2 months. By May, my product went live, and that first month, I sold $3,000. That was one of the turning point in my life. That was the moment I was like, whoa. And since then, I've never lost hope. I want to point out that I made those $3,000 because I had discipline, I set goals, I defined what kind of customers I wanted to sell to, what are their pain point, and how I can solve it. It was an easy task, but having those goals helped me get to the first sale and to a successful first month. And that year in total, I made over 6 figures my first year in business, and I still had my full-time job. I was doing business part-time. I'm telling you that to say money, success, loves speed. And that's something I point out in my company every day. I let my VAs understand that principle. Speed beats everything else. You might do the most assiduous research. You might find the perfect product. You might have the best idea, but if you don't bring it to the market, nobody will ever notice it. If you don't bring it to the market at the right time, you'll miss the opportunity. So if you have an idea that you think might be successful, test it first. Bring it to the market as fast as you can. For example, I'm not saying my first product was successful, but you heard the story earlier. I consider that a success because even though that product I had to switch and pivot later on, I would have never thought of that sooner if I waited 6 months, because that product that gave me 3,000, by July, I upgraded it to a better product. Because once I started selling, I look at my competition, I'm like, man, they're selling better products. People like that color more. Why am I selling this other color? You get what I'm saying? So test your idea the quickest possible. And there are many ways to test your ideas. We can get into those details on later videos. To focus on the Amazon, you might ask a small batch. Like, if you find a niche with products that sells 1,000 units a month, test it with like 300 units. See if the market will receive your brand and if you can position yourself to get a part of the cake in that market. Because some markets are tougher than others. And once you get into the game, you start seeing other pieces moving that you will never notice just by researching. The best learning experience when you're in the game. So get into the game as soon as possible. Like I said earlier, if your idea is not live in 60 days, it's not a business, it's a hobby. If you're happy having a hobby, just accept it, embrace it. That's what you want. But if you want to make money, you need speed, you need discipline, you need focus. I've noticed a lot of people say they want something, but they don't focus. They don't want it hard enough. They don't want it bad enough. So my invitation to you is to start bringing your ideas to life quickly. I would say 30 days if you're really, really serious. 60 days for me is the average. Because let's assume a product takes 90 days for a normal product, right? Because when you include receiving samples, when you include going back and forth with the suppliers, and then production takes 20 days, and then shipping takes 40 days. And when we get events like COVID, it might take even longer, 50 days, slow C. Sometimes the fast C can be 30 days. But adding all that might take a length of 90 days. So you want to beat that record. And the only way to do that is to have optimum focus. And let me tell you a story about Steve Jobs, right? He had a way of execution. Around himself, he wanted everybody to focus on one thing at a time. That's something I learned recently, and it makes so much sense why he was so successful. He talked about the signal to noise ratio and the 80-20 rule. And Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank illustrated it better in a podcast I watched recently with Steven, the Diary of a CEO. So basically, Mr. Wonderful said when he was working with Steve Jobs, he learned about the signal to noise ratio and the 80-20 principle as the way Steve Jobs was applying. And he's realized that most successful people that you know apply that. Elon Musk might be 100% zero. 100% of the time he's in the signal. Being in the signal means focusing so much on the task at hand that everything else becomes noise and you turn it down to zero. Think about it. So Steve Jobs was 80% of the time in the noise. And if he had to focus on one product, for example, the iPhone, that's all he was doing. So to illustrate better, the 80% rule means take tomorrow. Let's suppose you have 18 hours work day. For the 18 hours, 80% of the time, you will be in the noise, focusing just on the task at hand. You know how hard it is. I'm still getting there. And most of the people who are not successful focus 50% of the time on the signal. So they obey most of the time the 50% rule. That's most of the people you know, and that's why their life looks average in the marketplace. So in the marketplace, if you want to be successful, if you want to beat competition, if you want to deliver results on time, faster than anybody, because that's the only way to make more money than competitors, you need to obey the signal to noise ratio and the 80-20 rule. I hope I illustrated better and that you understand the name of the game. Stay tuned for another episode. Like and subscribe for any other ideas that I want to share. Let me know what topic you want to discuss later and what resonated with you in the comment. What do you think about the 80 signal noise ratio? All those ideas. Peace.